All right, YouTube, for those of you, quite a few, who are Ben Carson fans, I know at least a couple people who wanted him to be the Republican nominee, and while I disagreed, I said, well, Ben Carson's a sleepy man, but he's, one of the more likable people up on stage, probably one of the more intelligent, even if he doesn't always show it. Let's face it, he is a bit of a religious zealot, but Trump is appointing him to head HUD, Housing and Urban Development. That's something Carson could probably do fairly well. I would have thought more Surgeon General or something like that, honestly, considering his medical background. Maybe he's saving that for Ron Paul or something. I still want to see Ron or Rand in a cabinet position, honestly. I think it would be great. Have both of them up there. Put one in as Health and Human Services, the other as Surgeon General, and you're all set. All the younger voters will become GOP members. It'd actually be very funny to see. Because the Pauls, they're massively popular among the under 30 demographic because they're seen as trustworthy. It's not for any specific policies. It's just, hey, we like freedom and we're not going to lie to you and tell you everything's rosy. Now, Ben Carson, yeah, that's a pretty good pick. Right up there with Mad Dog Mattis. Again, there have been some cabinet picks he's made that I don't even really like. It's like that Nutchin or Munchin or whatever the fuck his name is there. The former Goldman Sachs partner. That's like, I'm not so sure about that. Lin Chow. For transportation, don't know enough about her to really care. Carson's good, Mattis is good. We still have to wait and see who the Secretary of State's going to be. If it's Romney, I'm going to grumble about that. I'll give him a chance to prove that he's maybe changed his ways, but I'm not going to have high expectations for a Romney State Department or a Bolton State Department. I wouldn't even have high expectations for a Giuliani State Department or a Petraeus State Department, but it'd be maybe certainly better than Bolton, probably a little bit better than Romney too. I would love it if he just came out of nowhere and blindsided everyone, said Jim Webb's going to be the new Secretary of State, or even Ron Paul, honestly. Ron Paul, Secretary of State, would be hilarious. It'd be great. But I don't think that's the way he's leading. I think we're going to end up with a Romney State Department at this point. Although there are some tales that he's broadening the number of people he's considering. This is after whittling it down to a short list. Put Gingrich in the spot. It'd be all right. Put Marco Rubio in as the head of the State Department. It'd be hilarious. They'd have little Marco jokes constantly. And, he is well-spoken, even if he is on amphetamines, it seems, anytime he speaks to anybody. As for China, we have a second piece of Trump news here, of course. He's continuing to feud with them on Twitter and elsewhere over the Taiwan thing. I'm completely side with Trump on this one. I have no problem with this. If he wants to attack China for attacking him for accepting a fucking congratulatory call, go for it. The Chinese are being too big-headed. They don't seem to realize which nation has more projective force, which nation has more military strength overall, which nation is actually allied with Taiwan. The Chinese still claim it's just a rogue province. Good luck trying to take it back. Good luck. You can fly your nuclear bombers around Taiwan's edge of airspace all you want. It's a meaningless gesture. They're not actually going to do anything because China is not an erratic, non-state actor like ISIS that would actually utilize such weapons outside of a wartime scenario. China additionally has the problem of an increasingly concerned India to its south that also has nuclear weapons, let's face it. Not too happy about the fact that China decided to route some travel and trade through Pakistan, which they have a long-standing feud with. They have to deal with Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, the Philippines, Bangladesh, some of these Islamic Central Asian countries that don't really like China and think that there are some Islamic provinces there that should be free, the Tibetan revolutionary movements, certain liberal reformers in the coastal regions. China has a lot of problems. There's a reason why they haven't leapfrogged ahead of us. That and the fact that they're 50 years behind on most measures. Their economy is still a paper palace. They have ghost cities, ghost trains, ghost roads that nobody uses because in order to justify their repeatedly re-injected economy, they have to keep building stuff regardless of whether growth is even keeping up with the things that they're building. They build some of these things, they're so substandard they fall over the next day. They've got like that replica of Paris. Nobody lives there. It's basically a ghost town. They have their own fake Eiffel Tower and everything. China has severe problems. And honestly, the future of Asia isn't even in China. It's in India. India is the future of Asia. You may not see it now, but I can see it. India, Vietnam, Thailand, possibly the Philippines. That's the future of Asia. Japan's not the future of Asia. They stalled out 20 years ago. China's beginning to stall out now. Their growth is receding. The cracks in their economy are beginning to show. They haven't actually made up enough lost time on the military end when their economy was booming. They were too busy funding other projects. Building infrastructure is great. Now, the Chinese used exactly the strategy they should have used, which is massively expand infrastructure, energy production, especially solar and wind, important in China, more roads, more rails, terraforming things, putting up dams, everything else that you could possibly need, more docks. That's great. That's really good for China. That certainly did spur a hell of a lot of growth. The problem is they kept building those things because it was centrally planned, and because there was also the mixed economy side where private businesses got a guarantor from the government to build such things and convince the government, yeah, we need a road to this farm. Yeah, it's going to be 5 miles of empty road that will have one truck using it, but this will increase the output of this farm. The Chinese government more often than not allows them to do these things because these people just, they pay a $5 to some bureaucrat, they get accepted. That's the problem within their mixed model. So what's ended up happening is that while that original infrastructure development did cause the economy to grow at pace with that expansion of infrastructure, at some point infrastructure began growing far more quickly than the actual output, the actual efficiency of the state. Now they're simply building things to keep building things, hoping that investors will flood in. But the investors aren't flooding in fast enough for them to keep building these things. They're running up debt as a result. Nobody's using it. And because nobody's developing these things, factories aren't going up, farms are not being plowed through and so forth. It becomes empty infrastructure that then they have to fund. They have to maintain. More and more of their economy is used just to maintain what they've already built. They're still building more, and it's inefficient. China's not the future of Asia. I don't care what anybody says. As for Taiwan, there could come a strange day in the future when the communists in control of China, kind of commies, you know, it's a mixed model. It's not straight out communism, it's just a communist party so-called. The self-proclaimed communist in China might end up getting racked with so many domestic revolutions when their economy flatlines that maybe Taiwan ends up inheriting the entirety of mainland China. Has anybody thought about this possibility? That liberals might rise up in some of these urban and suburban zones in China, overthrow the government at some point, institute a more liberal policy and seek reunification under the type of government Taiwan already has, and maybe even recognize their premier there as, yeah, he's the de facto interim leader. We're going to have an actual election, and obviously it probably won't be some Taiwanese person that actually ends up as the head of that. But yeah, we're liberals now, we're giving up the mixed model, we're going to a private marketplace and so forth. They've pumped their markets so full of people's pensions that it's surprising that people haven't already held a small-scale revolution in China. And they get the Hong Kong problem, the Tibet problem, everything, and all sorts of problems. So I wouldn't be confident, I wouldn't be investing in China right now. I'd be investing in India or Thailand or something like that, or maybe Pakistan. Pakistan has seen enormous growth as well. They especially on the end of textiles, anything related to, you know, coats and clothes and things like that, blankets. It's moving from Egypt to Pakistan right now at quite a steady clip. So pretty good economy there that's actually booming. I mean, it's limited to a few urban areas. The outlying areas are still nothing more than third world step, but it's beginning to develop at a more rapid pace. Pakistan and India collectively together, if they ever united, would have more power than China can ever have. So yeah, if Trump wants to adopt a line of, yes, we're pro-Taiwan, this is our ally, we're already selling him weapons, so we're going to talk to them, who the fuck is China fooling? What are you going to do about it? To block us from moving to and from Taiwan? It would be very, very funny to see the anemic Chinese Navy attempting to do that. It would be very, very funny indeed to see them dick-wag a little bit and threaten to launch a nuclear weapon only to get firebombed in response. I'm not anti-China. I have no problem with the people of China. I don't even care if the government of China is communist, but for them to meddle in another nation's friendly affairs. They're not complaining because we're invading somebody. They're not complaining because we're bombing somebody. They're complaining that our president-elect took a phone call from the Taiwanese prime minister. That's where the problem is. Go ahead and complain all you want. If the U.S. government is invading some third world nation, I'm going to be complaining too. But if we're just talking in a friendly manner to a country that's made it clear, we're sovereign, no, we're not dealing with commies, we're not dealing with the so-called government of China, we are the government of China, that's our decision. That has nothing to do with the Chinese. Why would we want China to reabsorb Taiwan and break through all containment and have another giant military base, which is what they'd turn it into anyway? Why would that benefit anybody else in the region either? It's not just the U.S. It's all the other Asian states, including other supposedly communist nations. There's a reason why Vietnam, whose own model is startlingly close to China, no longer wants to deal with China. They'll trade with them, but they constantly bicker at sea over maritime borders, fishing rights, energy extraction, and everything else under the sun. Well, why could this possibly be? Could it be that all these large Chinese fishing vessels keep ramming everybody else's ships out of the way for no reason and bullying them around and spraying them down with water hoses for absolutely no provocation because they think that the entire Pacific happens to be theirs? Yeah, that's probably why. It'd be funny if they tried to do that to a U.S. vessel, see what the response would be. I mean, who cares if Trump wants to take a call from Taiwan? He should call them back up and have an hour-long conversation with them while praising Shanghai Shek. That's what he should do. Oh, that would piss China off so much. And then he should call up the Vietnamese and be like, fuck the commies over there. You should embrace westernization fully. I'm going to pump you full of money too. Then he should call up Duterte. I know I already spoke with him in the Philippines. Be like, oh, you want some really cool weapons? Here, have a couple of these planes, see what they can do. And partner with them, do the same. Give the Japanese and the South Koreans anti-air platforms. Yeah, we should give them some of these THAAD batteries that they've wanted so bad for so long. And give them more of them. Build like 1,000 of them and just station them all around Asia. Give them to India too. Hey India, you want some free stuff? You don't have to pay anything for it, but we want a trade deal out of you. That'd be great. Use our wallet. Just ring the Chinese. Now, this is something Clinton actually openly suggested. I'm not suggesting, oh, kill everybody in China, overthrow the regime. I'm suggesting that we maintain our relations with everyone. We recognize the sovereign states we recognize. We speak to them as we want. And we shouldn't care or take any token if another state, just because it happens to have nukes, doesn't want us to talk to some other state. Because it's crazy. It would be a display of the utmost weakness for the United States to bend over right now and say, okay, we're sorry, China. No, we shouldn't apologize at all. Not even a little bit. That show of weakness would tarnish Trump's entire presidency. It would be almost suicidal for him to apologize to China. He should threaten them more. He should browbeat them some more. See who backs down first. It probably isn't going to be the much larger economic and military power with 10 times as many states within its alliance. It's going to be China that backs down. Their economy's reliant on selling us crap anyway. That's about all. Peace out.